The Undertaker, the dead man's funeral march. For over 3 decades, The Undertaker didn't just walk to the ring, he descended into it like a ghost from another realm. The slow toll of the bell, the blue fog, the flickering torches. Every step of that funeral march felt like time itself stopped to make way for death. But behind the spectacle was a masterclass in symbolism. The entrance wasn't just for show, it was storytelling. The Undertaker's walk represented the journey between life and the afterlife. His glacial pace, the rolling eyes, the urn carried by pallbearer, it was all rooted in the imagery of Gothic horror and spiritual ritual. Every entrance told you that whoever stood in that ring was about to meet their reckoning. When he rose from the dead after losses, the lights dimming and the gong striking again symbolized rebirth, the cycle of mortality that defined his entire career. Even his American Badass phase kept traces of that same idea. Death never truly gone, just wearing another face. At WrestleMania, his entrances reached mythic scale. Coffins, lightning, druids, flames, the kind of theater that turned wrestling into something bigger than sport. They weren't just walkouts, they were ceremonies. And by the time he reached the ring, the outcome already felt inevitable. Because when the dead man walked that aisle, you weren't watching a man, you were watching a legend enter his own myth. Triple H, the Game and King of Kings entrance. When Triple H makes his way to the ring, it isn't just an entrance. It's a declaration of power. From the second that opening riff of The Game by Motorhead hits, the air changes.
Time to play the game.
The lights dim, the fog rolls in, and the king takes his throne. But behind that iconic water spit and ironclad armor lies one of the most carefully crafted personas in WWE history. Triple H's entrance has always been about dominance, the control freak who engineered his own legend. The water spray? That's not just flair, it's intimidation. It's him marking his territory, announcing that everything inside that ring belongs to him. The slow, deliberate walk, the smirk, the cold stare, they're all remnants of his obsession with psychology. He wasn't just a wrestler, he was the general walking to war. When he evolved into the King of Kings, the symbolism deepened. The crown, the throne, the skulls. It wasn't random metal imagery. It represented his transition from player to ruler, from the game to the architect of WWE's hierarchy. The sledgehammer became his royal scepter, and every WrestleMania entrance, from Conan-style armor to Thrones of Bones, told a story of ego, legacy, and absolute control. Triple H's entrance isn't flashy for the sake of it. It's cinematic authority. When that spotlight hits him, it's not about a match. It's about power, legacy, and one man's obsession with being remembered as wrestling's final boss. Shawn Michaels, Sexy Boy, and the Pyro Pose. No one in WWE history made an entrance like Shawn Michaels. The lights drop, the guitar riff hits, and suddenly, the Heartbreak Kid doesn't just walk to the ring. He struts into it like he owns the place. Sexy Boy blares through the arena, fireworks explode, and Shawn kneels, flexes, and tilts his head back as golden pyro rains down like divine spotlight. But what made HBK's entrance unforgettable wasn't just the flash. It was the contradiction. Behind that cocky swagger and self-absorbed grin was a story about identity. Early on, the entrance was pure arrogance. It was Shawn flaunting himself as wrestling's rock star, the man every guy hated and every crowd secretly loved. The mirror shades, the leather chaps, the slow twirl, they were all symbols of a performer obsessed with perfection. But as his career evolved, so did the meaning. After his back injury and later return, the same entrance carried something new: redemption. The Pyro Pose wasn't just showmanship anymore, it was gratitude. Every spotlight he stood under felt like a prayer, a reminder that he'd fallen, changed, and clawed his way back. Even the song itself, still sung by Shawn's own voice, was a time capsule, a younger version of himself, echoing through every arena. As an older, wiser Michaels walked to the ring to live up to his own myth. His entrance was never just about being sexy. It was about surviving the spotlight and learning to bow to it instead of burning in it. The Rock, the iconic walk and eyebrow raise. Before The Rock ever threw a punch, he already had the crowd eating out of his hand. The music hit, and the entire arena erupted. But what followed was more than just an entrance. It was a masterclass in confidence, timing, and pure showmanship. Every movement The Rock made was deliberate. The slow, head-tilted walk down the ramp wasn't just attitude, it was dominance through stillness. Unlike other superstars who hyped themselves up, The Rock did the opposite. He slowed down the moment. He wanted the fans to catch every second of his energy before the match even began. And then, of course, came the eyebrow. That single raised brow was his crown, a silent command that told the world, "I own this place." It was the perfect punctuation mark, playful yet intimidating, confident but charming. Even the way he stopped on the turnbuckle, glanced sideways, and surveyed the crowd felt like a movie scene. But here's the hidden meaning. The Rock's entrance symbolized transformation. He started as the smiling, corporate-approved Rocky Maivia, a character fans hated. But when he embraced his real personality, that entrance became a victory lap of authenticity. Every walk, every smirk, every eyebrow raise was a reminder that he wasn't playing a role anymore. He was The Rock. He didn't need pyro, darkness, or mystique. Just music, charisma, and a raised eyebrow. And somehow, it was more powerful than all of them. Please like and subscribe if you're enjoying this video. Stone Cold Steve Austin, the glass shattered. It starts with a sound, just one. And in that instant, chaos is guaranteed. No entrance in WWE history hits harder or faster than Stone Cold Steve Austin's. The glass breaks, the crowd explodes, and before the music even kicks in, you already know someone's about to get stunned. But the real brilliance behind that entrance is how simple and symbolic it is. The glass shattering isn't just noise, it's rebellion breaking through the corporate ceiling. It's the sound of a man who refused to play by anyone's rules. Not Vince McMahon's, not the company's, not even wrestling's. Every time it hit, it reminded fans that the anti-hero had arrived to tear down authority. Austin didn't need theatrics. No lasers, no fog, no elaborate poses. He stomped straight to the ring with fury in his eyes, flipping off anyone in his way. That raw, unfiltered march became a visual mantra. No flash, just fight. The beer, the black vest, the attitude, every detail screamed authenticity. The hidden genius of it all is that the moment always felt real, not scripted. The glass was a metaphor for what Austin was doing to WWE's polished image, shattering it, exposing the grit underneath. Every superstar wanted an entrance that made fans cheer. Stone Cold's didn't just make them cheer, it made them lose control. Because when that glass broke, the audience knew rules didn't matter anymore. Only rebellion did. John Cena. My Time Is Now, and the salute entrance. Before John Cena even says a word, his entrance already tells his story. The brass horns hit, the beat drops, and My Time Is Now blasts through the speakers like a declaration of war. He bursts through the curtain, cap backward, towel in hand, and hits that salute, a gesture that says everything about who he is. But here's what most fans miss. Cena's entrance isn't just hype. It's philosophy. The salute isn't just a random pose. It's a nod to his respect for the military, discipline, and the blue-collar work ethic that defines his hustle, loyalty, respect mantra. It's his way of saying he's not above anyone. He's for the people who grind every day. The song itself adds another layer. Cena wrote and performed My Time Is Now himself, infusing it with his real-life attitude. The underdog who built his success from nothing. The lyrics, "You can't see me," became more than a taunt. They became a metaphor for resilience. You might doubt him, hate him, or count him out, but you'll never stop him. And the energy, oh, it's infectious. Kids scream, adults boo, but everyone reacts. That's the power of Cena's entrance. It bridges love and hate, uniting the crowd in emotion, even if it's divided in opinion. Every salute, every towel toss, every beat of that song is Cena reminding the world that he earned his spot. His time isn't borrowed, it's now and always will be. Edge, the pyro explosion and Metalingus theme. When that first riff of "You Think You Know Me" hits, the crowd doesn't just cheer, they erupt.
You think you know me?
Edge's entrance is pure adrenaline, the perfect marriage of chaos, confidence, and catharsis. The lights flash, the smoke bursts, and then, boom! The pyro explodes as Edge bursts through it, eyes wide, hair flying, every ounce of energy channeled into one moment. But behind that explosion of sound and fire lies one of the most meaningful entrances in wrestling. Edge's Metalingus theme by Alter Bridge wasn't chosen just because it rocked. It spoke to his story. The line, "On this day I see clearly," became a reflection of his redemption arc. After years of clawing, scheming, and fighting his way through titles, injuries, and reinvention, that song became his anthem of rebirth. The entrance also mirrored his personality, unpredictable, intense, and relentless. The sudden blast of pyro symbolized the chaos Edge brought wherever he went, whether as the rated R superstar or the returning legend who refused to fade away. Even after his shocking retirement in 2011, when he returned 9 years later at the Royal Rumble, the entrance hit differently. It wasn't just nostalgia, it was resurrection. Every time Edge walks through that smoke, it's more than a comeback. It's a reminder that even when life sidelines you, you can still break through the fire and make the world remember your name. The Shield, the crowd entrance.
Wait a minute. Before bed.
Before the Shield even threw a single punch, you could feel their presence. The sirens blared, the camera shook, and through the sea of fans emerged three black-clad soldiers, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and Dean Ambrose, marching down through the audience like enforcers of chaos. It wasn't just an entrance, it was a mission. In a world where every superstar took the same walk down the ramp, the Shield flipped the script. Entering through the crowd symbolized rebellion. They weren't part of the system. They were there to tear it down from the inside. It was guerrilla warfare on live television, and it instantly separated them from every other team in WWE history. Their tactical vests, the dim lighting, the heavy camera movement, it all gave their entrance a raw cinematic realism. And the hidden meaning? It wasn't just about unity. It was about infiltration. The Shield weren't sports entertainers. They were soldiers of justice, fighting their way through the masses to deliver punishment. Even after their breakup, that entrance lived on in memory. Every time the camera panned to the crowd during a surprise return, fans would hold their breath, wondering if those three silhouettes would reappear one more time. The Shield didn't just walk to the ring, they invaded it. And in doing so, they turned a simple entrance into a revolution. One that made every arena feel like a war zone. Finn Balor, the Demon entrance. When the lights cut out and that heartbeat echoes through the arena, you already know. You're not seeing Finn Balor the man. You're seeing the Demon.
Is this?
His Demon King entrance is one of the most visually stunning moments in modern WWE. Smoke fills the ramp, red lights pulse like veins, and Balor crawls out of the darkness covered in war paint that turns him into something primal. Every movement, every twitch, crawl, and slow rise feels like a transformation, as if a darker spirit is taking over his body. But the hidden meaning behind this entrance goes far deeper than theatrics. The Demon persona represents Balor's inner conflict, the part of him that taps into pure aggression and chaos when his back's against the wall. In his own words, it's not a costume, it's a release. The paint, the movement, the atmosphere, it all symbolizes Finn channeling his inner darkness to become unstoppable. The heartbeat? That's the line between the man and the monster. The fog and lights mirror the blur between reality and mythology, something rooted in Finn's Irish heritage and fascination with Celtic folklore. Every time the Demon appears, it's not just an entrance, it's an awakening. It's the moment Balor stops being the artist and becomes the beast. Because when the Demon rises, it's not just about victory, it's about surrendering to the darkness and letting it win. Bray Wyatt, the Lantern Walk, he's got the whole world. When the lights go out and the arena fills with thousands of glowing cell phone lights, fireflies, as he called them, you know something haunting is about to unfold. Then comes that voice. Slow, southern, hypnotic.
We're here.
The lantern flickers to life, the crowd hums, and Bray Wyatt steps out of the darkness like a preacher from another dimension. Bray's entrance wasn't just an introduction, it was a ritual. The lantern represented guidance, a symbol of false hope in the hands of a false prophet. To the untrained eye, he was leading followers toward enlightenment. But the truth was far darker. He was leading them into his madness. The slow walk, the swamp music, the rocking chair, all echoes of Southern Gothic horror, blending religion, cult imagery, and psychological warfare. And when the entire arena sang, "He's got the whole world in his hands," it wasn't meant to be sweet nostalgia. It was irony. Bray used that hymn as a weapon, showing that he didn't just control his followers, he controlled us. The audience became part of his performance, unknowingly worshiping the very man who promised their destruction. Even after his transformation into the Fiend, the lantern remained, this time twisted into a grotesque version of his own head. It was the perfect metaphor. The light that once guided had become the monster that consumed it. Bray Wyatt didn't just walk to the ring, he haunted it, and every step reminded us that sometimes evil doesn't roar, it whispers. Randy Orton, voices, and the Predator's walk. When the first chilling line of "I hear voices in my head" echoes through the arena, the crowd doesn't just react, they tense up, because when Randy Orton appears, it isn't about fireworks or flash, it's about control. Cold, quiet, methodical control. Orton's entrance is the perfect reflection of who he is, a predator. His slow, calculated walk to the ring, head tilted slightly downward, eyes fixed ahead, isn't just showmanship, it's psychology. He moves like a hunter stalking his prey, saving every ounce of energy for the perfect strike. The lights dim, the pyro hits with precision, and that haunting theme plays like a confession trapped inside his mind. The hidden meaning lies in that very song. Voices isn't about theatrics. It's about instability. It represents the chaos living inside Orton, the duality between calm and carnage. You can see it in the way he slithers across the ropes, in that brief smirk before the explosion of the RKO. He doesn't scream or roar. He whispers danger. Every gesture, the turn of his neck, the spread of his arms, tells you he's in complete command. Even his infamous legend killer smirk carries meaning. The satisfaction of the hunt completed. Randy Orton's entrance doesn't ask for attention. It demands silence. Because when the lights go red and that look crosses his face, you realize something primal. The Viper doesn't need to chase chaos. He simply waits for it to come to him. Becky Lynch, the Man WrestleMania 35 entrance. When Becky Lynch walked through that curtain at WrestleMania 35, she wasn't just making an entrance, she was making history. The lights blazed, the crowd roared, and the man strutted out in all black leather like a gunslinger walking into destiny. But beneath the attitude and swagger, her entrance carried a deeper meaning. It wasn't just about confidence, it was vindication. Becky's entire journey led to that moment. For years, she'd been the overlooked one, the underdog who never quite got the spotlight. But when she embraced the man persona, it flipped the script. It wasn't a nickname, it was a statement. It was her way of saying, I don't need permission to be the best. At WrestleMania 35, that energy exploded. The smoke, the fire, the booming chorus, it wasn't glam, it was rebellion. The black and gold gear paid homage to her Irish heritage and symbolized power reclaimed. Every step down that ramp felt like a message to every fan who'd ever been told to wait their turn. The hidden symbolism, Becky walking last, after Charlotte and Ronda Rousey, was WWE's unspoken acknowledgement that she'd surpassed them both. The woman once seen as the sidekick had become the face of a revolution. That entrance wasn't just a walk to the ring, it was a march into history. The moment the man became the legend. Cody Rhodes, Kingdom WrestleMania 38 return entrance. When the lights dimmed at WrestleMania 38 and the first notes of Kingdom echoed through the stadium, the crowd erupted. But what they didn't realize was that they were witnessing something far deeper than a simple return. Cody Rhodes wasn't just walking down the ramp that night, he was walking back into the empire he helped rebuild himself against. The Kingdom theme wasn't chosen by chance. The lyrics, "Wrestling has more than one royal family," summed up Cody's entire story.
Wrestling has more than one royal family.
He had left WWE 6 years earlier, frustrated, overlooked, and determined to prove that the Rhodes legacy wasn't bound by corporate walls. That song became his anthem of independence, of rebellion, of legacy reclaimed on his own terms. And when that music hit under WWE lights for the first time, it was symbolic poetry. The same man who once left in frustration now returned to finish his father's dream. Every camera flash, every cheer was part of his homecoming story. One written not by WWE Creative, but by Cody himself. The entrance gear said it all. The American Nightmare logo fused with classic Rhodes iconography, a balance between past and future. It wasn't just attire, it was identity. That WrestleMania entrance wasn't about ego. It was closure. It was a son carrying his family's flag back into the spotlight and finally planting it where it always belonged. Brock Lesnar, the Bounce and Pyro Blast entrance. When Brock Lesnar walks to the ring, it's not an entrance, it's an earthquake. The moment his music hits, the crowd feels it in their bones. That deep, pounding riff, the heavy lights, and the signature bounce, Lesnar doesn't walk like a man heading to a fight. He stalks like a force of nature that just got unleashed. The bounce itself, his pacing, that rhythmic, predatory movement, isn't just a habit. It's tension. It's how fighters loosen up before a storm. Coming from his real-world combat sports background, it's pure instinct, a visual warning that someone's about to get destroyed. Then comes the pyro. Lesnar stops mid-ramp, throws his arms down with that explosive motion, and boom! Fire erupts behind him like a bomb blast. The move isn't created to look cool, it's symbolic. It's an eruption of power. The instant he slams those arms, it's as if he's triggering his own chaos, unleashing the beast inside. There's no fanfare, no theatrics, no talking, just raw, unfiltered dominance. His entrance is built on the principle of fear, minimal words and maximum impact. You can see it in the faces of his opponents. That moment the music hits, they already know they're in trouble. Even when he reinvented himself as the cowboy version of Lesnar, that energy didn't fade, it just evolved. The pyro, the bounce, the glare, they all serve one message. Brock Lesnar doesn't perform for the crowd performs for him. Rhea Ripley, the Judgment Day Gothic entrance. When Rhea Ripley steps onto the stage drenched in purple light and distortion, it feels less like a wrestling entrance and more like a Gothic awakening. The guitars snarl, the strobes flash, and she stands motionless for a split second. Black leather, spikes, chains, then smirks, as if she knows something the rest of the world doesn't. That's not a walk to the ring. It's a coronation in darkness. Rhea's entrance evolved with the Judgment Day, but its core meaning never changed. Its rebellion turned into ritual. The slow march, the head tilt, the devil-may-care grin all mirror her journey from the smiling NXT prodigy to a self-made powerhouse who stopped asking for permission. The purple glow symbolizes transformation, a color historically tied to both royalty and sin, exactly where Rhea lives, between power and defiance. Even her theme, Demon in Your Dreams, plays like an anthem for chaos. The heavy riffs and haunting tones reflect the danger in her calm, controlled fury disguised as confidence. Every movement is deliberate. The cold stare into the camera, the raised arm under flickering lights, the whispered, "Mommy's here." The hidden meaning? Rhea's entrance is a mirror to her identity. She isn't just another member of the Judgment Day, she's its heartbeat, the embodiment of beauty twisted into dominance. The moment that music hits, you don't see a superstar. You witness the rise of a modern-day Dark Queen who doesn't just command attention, she demands submission. The Fiend, let me in. When the lights go black and the distorted children's laughter echoes, you don't cheer, you shiver. Then, a red glow bleeds across the arena, and that remix of Live in Fear begins to crawl through the speakers. The Fiend doesn't enter the ring. He emerges from your nightmares. Bray Wyatt's Fiend entrance wasn't just designed to be scary. It was storytelling in its purest, most twisted form. Every second of it symbolized duality. The Fiend wasn't a new character. He was Bray's inner demon, the manifestation of every trauma, betrayal, and failure he'd ever endured. The lantern he carried? It wasn't a prop. Look closer. It was a grotesque replica of Bray Wyatt's old face. Literally, the light of his past self, decapitated and corrupted. The strobe lights, the slow head tilts, the jerky movements, they all tapped into the language of horror films and psychological breakdowns. Each flicker represented control slipping away. Each breath under that mask blurred the line between performer and possession. Even the phrase, "let me in," wasn't just a catchphrase, it was a warning. It meant the darkness wasn't just coming for you, it was inviting itself into your mind. When The Fiend appeared, WWE didn't feel scripted anymore. It felt haunted. Every entrance felt like an exorcism, not of a demon, but of the man who'd created it. And by the end, we weren't sure if Bray Wyatt was controlling The Fiend or if The Fiend had already won. Roman Reigns, the Tribal Chief entrance. When Roman Reigns steps out now, it doesn't feel like an entrance. It feels like a ceremony. The slow drumbeat, the booming bass of Head of the Table, the gold accents reflecting off his vest and lei. It's not hype, it's heritage. Roman's entrance as the Tribal Chief is a masterclass in symbolism. Every detail tells a story of legacy, authority, and power reclaimed. The slower pace compared to his old Shield days? That's not laziness, it's confidence. A man who no longer runs into battle, but commands others to fight for him. The camera follows him like royalty, not a performer, as Paul Heyman clutches the championship behind him like sacred treasure. The red lei around his neck, often reserved for his most important matches, isn't just decoration, it's Samoan tradition. It symbolizes respect, bloodline, and warrior lineage. Roman's entire presentation is a living tribute to his Anoa'i family roots, blending cultural pride with absolute dominance. The lighting is always cinematic, the pyro controlled, the timing immaculate. Roman doesn't perform for the crowd anymore. He performs above them. When he lifts that title to the sky, it's not celebration, it's ritual, a king reminding the world who sits at the head of the table. The hidden meaning? This isn't the Roman Reigns WWE tried to create, it's the one he built himself. No shield, no script, just the quiet, terrifying presence of a man who no longer needs to prove he's the best, because now everyone already acknowledges him. The Ultimate Warrior sprint to the ring. Before the music even hit, the energy was already different. And then it came, that iconic pulsing guitar riff. The Ultimate Warrior didn't walk to the ring. He sprinted, full speed, hair flying, muscles shaking, every fiber of his being vibrating like a live wire about to explode. In an era of slow, grand entrances, Warrior's charge was chaos incarnate. It wasn't just adrenaline, it was a symbol. That mad dash represented everything about who he was. Uncontainable, unpredictable, and larger than life. To fans, it looked like excitement, but behind the scenes, it had deeper meaning. Warrior believed his entrance was a transformation. The sprint was his way of channeling pure energy from the crowd, feeding off it until he became something more than human. The rope shake, the wild eyes, the booming screams, it was all ritual. He wasn't entering the ring to wrestle, he was entering it to ascend. There was also an honesty to the chaos. The man was exhausted before the match even started, drenched in sweat, lungs burning. But that was the point. His entrance was designed to burn everything at once. Fear, energy, and ego, leaving nothing but intensity. For a generation of fans, the Ultimate Warrior's sprint wasn't just an entrance, it was an event. The sound of childhood adrenaline, the physical embodiment of passion unchained. No tricks, no lights. just raw, unstoppable force charging toward immortality. From fire and shadows to chaos and glory, these entrances weren't just walks to the ring, they were statements. Each one told a story, revealed a secret, or burned an image into wrestling history that fans will never forget. Which of these WWE entrances gave you chills the first time you saw it? And did we miss one that deserves a spot on the list? Drop your answers in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more untold stories from the world of wrestling.